My name is Steve Murphy, and welcome to the Insider Exclusive. Today we have a special show featuring one of America's finest trial lawyers in our Southern California Premier Law Firm series, Bob Shapiro. Stay tuned.
One of the things that you learn in the criminal justice system very quickly is that credibility is everything. And you can fool some people some of the time, but it catches up with you very quickly. We started a foundation called the Bob Shapiro Foundation for Drug Awareness. If it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody. We want to educate people about the truth. At some point in time in your life, you realize that there are some priorities that are more self-satisfying than just your own personal success. And to me, both the Bob Shapiro Foundation and LegalZoom.com are accomplishing that.
I am very pleased to have with us today one of America's finest trial lawyers, Robert Shapiro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's nice of you to come over this afternoon when it's hot in the valley, but you know, you are a guy always in the news. You've handled some big cases. Tell us about some of your big cases that everybody knows about.
Well, there was one that they called the trial of the century. I forgot the name of it.
Right. Was that football player?
It had something to do with football and murder.
Yeah.
But no, I have a unique practice.
Yes.
In that I'm known for high-profile cases and clients that I've had throughout the years, whether they be athletes or celebrities. But my day-to-day work is really with people who are not in the public light.
You know, it's very interesting you brought up about the celebrity cases, because it seems to be that anybody who's in trouble and a celebrity, they always call you first. Why is that?
You know, I think a couple of things. First, I've been doing it for a long, long time. I've been practicing for 37 years.
You don't look that old.
I'm not that old. I started very young, thank you. And I also, early on, was able to develop a way of dealing with the media. And being honest with the media, I know people in the media, and trying to cooperate and get my client's point of view as well as the legal system and how it operates correctly to the public, and that's been one of my passions.
You have a lot of trials out there, a lot of trial lawyers. What separates the men from the boys? You know, the great champions from the ones who just don't get it. What makes a good trial lawyer?
I think the ability to take your client out of a case and put yourself into the case. And if I can put myself on trial with the jury and put my credibility on trial with the jury,
you're fighting for their life,
then I think I'll have a pretty good chance.
Right.
And you have to have a credible case. You have to be able to demonstrate to the jury your own honesty, your own integrity, your own believability. And most of these cases really are about one thing and one thing only. And that is, will the jury follow the sacred principles of our founding fathers and require the prosecution to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt?
Right.
That's the issue. And many times that's a very, very difficult burden. And if the jury will believe and be convinced that they do not want to ever take the risk of convicting an innocent person, but they know that if they have a doubt, they sometimes do and may let guilty people go free, then liberty is served.
I read in a written interview, a print interview once, that you ask every single client whether they have done the crime.
Absolutely, and I try, as to the best of my ability, for them to be completely and totally honest and candid.
So when someone says to you, yes, I murdered that person, or yes, I did this crime, you still represent them?
That's a great question, and that's the question that comes up all the time. And many times people may say, And I've had clients say that they have murdered their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
I had one client who came to me and he said, on a Friday afternoon, I just shot my wife and dropped her body on the freeway. What should I do?
Interesting.
Well, my
What'd you tell
my
him? What'd you
suggestion
tell
was,
him?
if I were you, I'd hire a good lawyer right away. But what really happened is we surrendered him,
Yes.
and we went to trial,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot going on historically
Mm-hmm.
between he and his wife, and some sexual interludes and some improprieties and a lot of psychological dynamics. And even though he did admit to the jury that he pulled out a gun and shot his wife,
Yes.
the jury found that he did not have the state of mind for murder, and he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter.
A lesser crime, of
A
course.
much lesser. So what we deal with on a
Yes.
day-to-day basis, Steve, is not the whodunits.
Yes.
It's not the absolutes.
Why they did it.
It's why they did it, and what is it?
Yeah.
Two people get into a fight and one ends up dead.
Yeah.
It could be self-defense. It could be an accident. It could be premeditated.
Yes.
And that's not my job. That's the jury's job.
A good case in point is the case that you handled for Christian Brando, right?
Yes.
Where it wasn't a matter of what happened, it was a matter of why it happened, correct?
Well, there's no, that's one of the horrible human events that I dealt with really in my practice.
Yes.
And it was a tragic event because Christian Brando was a young man who had a serious addiction to alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And his sister was crying on his shoulder one night that she was being abused to a substantial degree by her fiancé and the father of her child. And he got riled up and riled up and riled up, and he said, I'm going to go talk to him and make sure he never touches you again.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a gun became involved, and we were able to talk to the district attorney at that time, and when all the facts were really known, the district attorney concluded a manslaughter plea would be proper.
Yes.
And it was a manslaughter plea. Christian did his time, and he's come out. He's doing what he likes to do, and that's he's a welder up north and trying to live a low-profile life.
What a lot of potential clients like about you, and obviously the clients that you successfully represent them, is that you have a way with the prosecutor. I mean, you seek the truth, same as they, and you're able to convince them that maybe they should be charged with a lesser crime, right?
You know, one of the things that you learn in the criminal justice system very quickly, and I was a prosecutor for several years before I became a defense lawyer, is that credibility is everything. And you can fool some people some of the time, but it catches up with you very quickly. And if the prosecutors know several things, number one, that you're going to be totally prepared and dedicated to your client in the cause.
Yes.
Number two, the trials under the best of circumstances are difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They're difficult for the prosecution, they're difficult for the defense. And the reason prosecutors have such a high success rate is because the overwhelming majority of cases are settled by a plea. We call it plea negotiations, the public calls it plea bargains.
Right.
They're really not bargains, they're settlements. The same thing that happens in civil cases.
Sure.
Most things settle when all the chips are on the table.
Mm.
And if you're honest, you put your chips on the table, you don't try to hide anything, then the prosecution can evaluate their case, because many times there are things that I know or that my experts have found that the prosecution has missed or overlooked.
Right. On your website at your firm, you have, I think it says you are the head of the white-collar crime section. Is that right? Criminal defense section, correct?
Yes.
What kind of cases are you handling, and have you handled in that area of the law?
Recently, I've represented the head of a major oil company not too long ago that they were cleaning their tankers, which are these massive holdings. If you've ever been out in Los Angeles or any place where they,
Right, like in
where
El
they
Segundo.
bring it in El Segundo.
Yeah.
And if the wrong mixture is used, they are very combustible. And unfortunately, that happened, and an explosion took place, and they held the president of the company responsible. So those are the types of matters that I've handled.
Now, you also started a very innovative service, which is called LegalZoom, right?
LegalZoom.com.
Would you tell our audience something about that? What is that exactly?
You know, after being in court for about 35 years, almost every day a courtroom was opened, I got a tremendous amount of personal satisfaction as well as security from what I was doing. But I found there was a tremendous void in the ability for people to get legal services and legal documents that they need. Most people don't know a lawyer, they're afraid of a lawyer, the lawyers are too expensive, the documents are too intimidating. So about 7 years ago, two other lawyers, an internet guru and myself, came up with the idea that we were going to do wills over the internet and make a will available for every person in America. We found 90% of the people in America did not have a will. And we came up with a way to do this over the internet where we ask simple questions, person fills in the questionnaire.
Right on the site.
Right on the site.
Okay.
And the website itself acts as the conduit to produce a document.
Yes.
We were hoping to do 40 documents a month about 7 years ago with the four of us.
Yes.
Today we have over 300 employees. We're the number one
We're headquartered right here in LA.
in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
We're the number one document preparation company in America.
Wow.
We do everything from wills, corporations, LLCs, living wills, trademarks, any legal document a person needs. We always recommend people see lawyers.
Yes.
If you don't know a lawyer, you can't afford a lawyer, this is a great alternative to get the protection at a really price that everyone can afford.
So they download it, and then they've got what they need. But you do recommend them seeing a lawyer if they need to.
I always recommend seeing a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the best thing for people to do. But the majority of people today can form a LLC or a corporation. There's no reason for anybody in business not to have the protection that General Motors has.
Yes.
There's a reason. And we can do it for $130 on the internet in less than an hour.
You also handle small claims that people can fill out, because everybody's got an action against somebody, right? They don't know where to start. So your site enables a person to fill out the document and file it with the court?
At LegalZoom.com, one of the things we found was that 50% of the people that file small claims
Got a problem.
lose. No, they lose because they don't file it correctly.
Really?
The clerks won't tell them where to file it, so they either sue the person in the wrong venue, which is the wrong jurisdiction,
Yes.
or they don't have proper proof of service.
Yeah.
So we're able now to, on the internet, get all this information, tell the people, if you rented a car and you want to sue the rental company, well, where are you going to find out who you sue, where you serve them, and where the suit should be filed?
Your site?
We do it all.
You do it.
We do it all.
You mean you know the location of all these companies?
We can find them all.
Wow. And what does that service cost?
I think with the service, guaranteed service,
Yeah.
with a
This is the process server.
process server
Okay.
to serve the lawsuit, to file the lawsuit, and to give you a tutorial on
Yes.
how to best present your case, it's under $150.
Wow. So all America's listening right now, and now they know where to go. They can do it in any state, right? 50 states?
Any state. Any state.
LegalZoom.com, www.legalzoom.com.
That's correct.
That is fantastic. What about, they got wills, trust. Do you do trust too?
We do wills, trust, divorce, name change,
Yes.
LLCs, patents, trademarks.
That is
You name it, we do
fabulous.
it, if it's a document.
That's a brilliant idea.
Well, we really are servicing the public. We've done pretty close to 1 million documents successfully.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You just keep churning them out, huh?
Well, it's not as easy as it sounds
Yes.
because we have document preparation specialists
Yes.
that review each and every word of every document.
Just some of the people that come to the site, fill things out, eventually end up calling you and saying, you know, I need some help, Robert.
Hopefully not.
That's what the site is supposed
Exactly right, and then it does. It does it well.
to do. Let's talk about another very sensitive issue. Both of us have suffered some tragedies in our personal lives, and you unfortunately lost your son 2 years ago, right? Brent?
Yes, just about 2 years ago.
You formed a foundation would you tell our audience what that foundation, what the purpose of it is, and what you're doing today?
At the service for Brent, who was 24 years old, was going to turn 25 in a month.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the Dean's List at USC for the last 3 years, and he had been sober for 18 months. He went to a party with his fiancée, and it was a party celebrating somebody's 30th birthday, so it wasn't a kid's crazy night out.
Right.
And for some reason, he felt that perhaps he wasn't an alcoholic. He always admitted he was a drug addict.
Yes.
He said, well, maybe I can have a drink or two, and he had a couple of Jägermeisters.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody gave him a half of ecstasy, and
The
he became
combination.
very sick. Nobody wanted to tell the truth. They all didn't want me or his mother
Sure.
to find out. So he'll be fine, let him sleep it off. Well, he never slept it off.
Yes.
He ended up in a coma in the hospital. There's a 5-minute window, and he didn't make it within the 5 minutes. So I said, if it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And we started a foundation called the Brent Shapiro Foundation for Drug Awareness. And what we're trying to accomplish, and I believe we are accomplishing it, is we want to educate people about the truth. Truth number one, unequivocally, this is a disease.
Yes.
Unequivocally, it's an epidemic. It's not black or white, it's not rich or poor, it's not north or south, it's not smart or stupid.
Strikes everybody.
Be aware it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think there's a problem, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Deal with it immediately.
So you started this foundation. It has a website. What is that, please?
BrentShapiro.org.
Okay. BrentShapiro.org. O-R-G.
O-R-G.
And if somebody wants to get involved with that organization, what do they do?
All the information is on the website. One of the things we started the first year was Sober Day USA, a national day of drug awareness.
Really? What day is that?
May 1st.
No kidding.
Well, it's the first Monday in May, so
Yes.
sometime. So, and the reason we picked the first Monday in May is because it rhymes with Sober Day. So I won't forget it, and you won't forget it now. Sober Day
Interesting.
USA, first Monday in May. We've had two. The first one, we threw a Hollywood party
Mm-hmm.
on the Sunset Strip, red carpet, photographers, DJ,
Right.
no alcohol, obviously no drugs.
Mm-hmm.
People had a great time.
Good.
This year we took over Paramount Studios. We had 2,500 people there. We had DJ AM, one of the best DJs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
We had a tremendous band there. We had a Ferris wheel. We had games. We had booths. People came, they stayed, and everybody walked away and said, you know, nobody fought, nobody pushed, nobody shoved. Everybody was sober, and everybody had a great time. So we don't preach sobriety.
Yes.
But what we want to do is support those who are sober,
Yes.
to let them know they can have a good time, and let other people know too that, you know what, if you try it, maybe you can have a good time without getting blasted.
Do you ever have speakers at these events?
We have speakers at our events. We have done public service announcements.
Yes.
It's called What's My Story?
Mm-hmm.
We tell them our story. I've done one, my wife's done one, 10 other people who are non-celebrities got in front of a camera and spoke their hearts out. They're all on BrentShapiro.org. We have a tutorial not only for parents, for kids, but for doctors.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Save a Life card. You can download it right off the website. What do you do when somebody looks like they're in trouble?
Numbers to call.
Numbers to call, things to do, warning signs.
Yes.
We're educating people that this is a disease, and we're trying to change the name,
Yes.
because people do not accept addiction
No.
as being a disease.
It's the disease of denial.
That's right.
Yes.
So we call it chemical dependence
Mhm.
disease. It's a real disease. It's no different than diabetes.
Mhm.
It's no different than cancer. We have to talk about it. We have to communicate about it. And we have to be honest about it, because it's not a shameful disease.
No.
If, God forbid, your child is born a diabetic, when that child goes to a birthday party, you say, no chocolate cake, not even one.
Right, because they'll kill you.
Same thing with this disease.
Yes.
If you have this disease, don't play Russian roulette with it.
I don't know whether you know this, but you're talking to an active member of AA for almost 20 years. And I want to tell you a story which relates just to what you just said. Once I watched someone get up at the podium and give a lecture, a sermon. He was at an AA meeting, and he walked out there with one leg. He said, you all are probably wondering how I lost this leg. Well, I lost it my last drunk. I passed out on a railroad track, and a train came along and cut my leg off. And I want all of you to know that it wasn't the caboose that cut off my leg. It was the engine, and it won't be the last drink that kills you. It'll be the first. You know, I always remember that story because it's a true story, and I would love to speak at any of your events when you have an opportunity.
That would be wonderful. I'll tell you something that is so ironic. I just came from an AA meeting.
Okay.
And I don't have the disease, fortunately.
Yes.
It ran in my family, but I don't have it. And I wanted to, and I'd been to them in the past.
Sure.
But I'd been there for other people. And I wanted to see firsthand.
This is the first time you went to one?
First time I went for this purpose.
Yes.
Not to support somebody. And it was an amazing experience that, first of all, for an hour and a half, people got up and spoke from the heart.
Yes.
And you can relate to these people, and every story touches you in some way, and you know somebody like that. So I went for education, but I walked away with spirit.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful experience.
Well, you brought up an interesting point earlier when you talked about it is a disease. It is not that you're a bad person. For many years, and even though I've been sober for a couple more months, it's going to be 20 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then you get a birthday cake, which I saw
Yeah,
today.
I got a birthday cake. But interesting enough, it was very difficult for me in the beginning because I had been told so many times that I was a bad person. I could stop this at any time. And that's what a lot of people face, you know. And the reason that one of the influences that made me stop was when I went to the meetings and I would listen to some of the people speaking, and I would say, God, they went through a worse situation than me, so I couldn't be that bad.
Well, you know,
it's that identification.
Yeah. What you're telling me is what we're talking about. When you say addiction, people say, well, you could be addicted to sugar.
Yes.
You can be addicted to peanuts.
Yes.
You can be addicted
Anything.
to chocolate. You can be addicted to sex, to pornography.
Right.
And people do not view that as a disease. They say, you want to stop, you stop.
Right.
But when you characterize it as a disease, a degenerative disease, one that really changes your brain chemistry, we have pictures of the brain, and we can show the progression of what alcohol and what chemicals do to that brain over time, and it gets worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
So it's not a shameful disease.
No.
And let's take the shame away and call it what it is.
Well, it's wonderful because unfortunate tragedy happened. You're helping a lot of young people out there right now. You know, even older people who think, oh, I'm over the hill, you know, and I can't change my life. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because it's a quality of living, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can change anything.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need the help to do it.
Yeah. You know, it's like when you handle a lot of major clients, you talked about Christian Brando right now, working as a welder up north, living a low-profile life. In a way, they have to review their own life and try to get back on track, too, because everybody stumbles every once in a while, doesn't it?
There's no question about it.
Do you spend a lot of time counseling some of your clients?
You know, one of the things that I think has been the most rewarding for me and also caused me to have the most success is I tell clients this. If you came to me for me to get you out of trouble, you're in the wrong place.
Interesting.
If you came to get help for yourself, then the system will help you.
Yes.
And invariably that works.
Because oftentimes the trouble extends beyond just that legal problem, right?
Without a question.
And I would say that for the most part, a lot of people do have alcohol and drug addictions that end up getting in problems criminally, don't they?
They overlap like this. Statistically, it's like 70 or 80% of the cases that we deal with have drug or alcohol overtones.
Getting back to LegalZoom, I am just so impressed with the documentation. 1 million documents that has been downloaded so far.
Yes.
Do people write you and say thanks?
all the time.
Do they?
The testimonials we get from the people, the service that we really provide.
Yeah.
The other thing we do too, very important that I didn't talk about, is living wills.
Yes.
This is something everybody in America must have.
Right.
It's the God forbid document.
Sure.
It's the document that caused litigation for years over Terry Schiavo in Florida. It's what are your wishes if, God forbid, your quality of life has ended?
Right.
Is it going to be your decision or 3 doctors at a hospital or family members fighting over what they think your decision would have been? Simple document. We do it for $29, and
It's called a health directive.
Well, it's called a durable power of attorney,
Right.
a health directive. We make a simple term, living will.
Yeah. Do you have, a lot of people, we're talking about this now, but how do people find out about everything they need? Do they also find that on
LegalZoom.com. Yeah, we have a total tutorial. We have a
You do?
library. We have
So it
frequently
isn't
asked
just
questions.
forms,
Oh,
it's
no.
also Q&A.
First of all, you have to learn what you need.
Yeah.
You have to know the difference between an LLC and a corporation, a subchapter S, before
Right.
you can decide which one you want for your business.
Do you have categories on there like, I am thinking about starting a business.
Yes.
What do I need?
Yes,
Do you?
absolutely.
And it's all on that site?
It's all on that site. All that is there's no cost, no obligation whatsoever. Once you go through the tutorials, once you go through and see what the documents are, if you feel capable of doing the document with
Yeah.
our help, then it's a simple procedure, and we email it out to you almost immediately,
Right.
and then Federal Express it within a day or 2.
Well, you know, you are amazing because it seems like you're always trying to help people help themselves, right?
You know, at some point in time in your life, you
Mhm.
realize that there are some priorities that are more self-satisfying
Yeah.
than just your own personal success.
Right.
And to me, both the Brent Shapiro Foundation and LegalZoom.com are accomplishing that.
I want to thank you very much, Bob, for coming
It's
to the
my
show.
pleasure. It's great to
It's been a
meet you and
pleasure.
great to hear your stories.
Well, you know, I would love to share with you, you know, at one of your meetings.
We will take you up on that.
I definitely do.
We will take you
okay?
up on that.
And if you want to get more information on Robert Shapiro, you can go to www.robertshapiro.com. That's your website, right?
That's my website.
And your
it's,
signs.
it's not updated very
okay.
frequently.
That's okay.
but-
And please give out your
But it's
Brents.
there, and then BrentShapiro.org for anybody who wants to find out anything about chemical dependence disease.
Thanks for helping everybody.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
For
We'll have
giving
you
me
back
this
again.
opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching our shows. I've enjoyed bringing you some great guests. You can see more of them at www.insiderexclusive.com. We'll be back again. Thanks.